Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Handpusen TR90 remote switch with digital timer. In my previous P950 video I spoke about this device. I mentioned it in passing. Today we're going to do the unboxing and I'm going to do some programming examples to show how we can use this device to do our time shutter releases. So this is a digital timer and it's a remote shutter release trigger. That's the key takeaways we want to bear in mind. So let's start by opening the box. We see the brand name Handpusen TR90. Remember that this is a generic model of a Nikon device, which is the MC-DC2. So the Nikon device that does exactly what this does, or that this is copying, so to speak, is the MC-DC2 trigger. However, this is a generic brand. It does the exact same thing, but obviously it's cheaper. And as we open the box, we can see that it comes with a cable, which is basically attached to the device. So please don't try to yank this out. And then we have a strap that we can just use to hold it in place. And what I would recommend is that you keep the strap attached to this device. So you see these little notches right here. So basically what you do, you just grab this loop and you stick it inside here. Good. So once it pops out there, see that? There's a loop. So you tuck this all the way in. You grab this, you pull it through, and voila. And basically this allows you to conveniently hold this in place, and then you can use it. Frankly, I don't think that's convenient, because then if you're going to be doing any programming, and what's going to happen is that you're going to want to hold it like this. And frankly, when you're using this, basically you're going to plug it into the camera, and then you're just going to set it and you press the button and you walk away. So that's basically it. Where does this connect to on your P950? So on your P950, you, on the left hand side of the camera, you pull this flap out, and then you go and plug it in right here. So see, that snaps in, and then you can just mount the P950 on a tripod, and then you can just configure how you want this to trigger the shutter, and then you're good to go. And bear in mind that this works in any shutter mode, so that's something you need to bear in mind. You can put this in any mode, because basically the only thing that this is doing is triggering the shutter release, so it will work in any mode. However, there are certain modes where it's most effective, and we'll discuss that as we go on in this video. So for now, let's just unplug this from the camera, close this, get the camera out of the way, and then we come back to the trigger. So without going through the manual, just by eyeballing this, I figured that it uses AAA's, which is what I did. Put those in, easy peasy, and I have something on the screen. So we know for sure it uses AAA's. So as we go through the manual, we see some precautions about do not use in the presence of flammable gas. And I'm gonna imagine that the reason why they're saying this is that this is a trigger. So in order to trigger the camera, it probably produces a spark of electricity, which, depending on how much concentration of gas there is, that could cause a fire. So that makes some practical sense. Keep out of the reach of children. You always want to do this with electronics, especially small items like this. You want to keep it away from toddlers who tend to put all sorts of things into their mouths because they simply don't know. They're exploring. In the event of malfunction, it says you should turn it off. Do not expose to high temperatures. That makes perfect sense. And observe precaution when handling batteries. And these are just basic guidelines that you always want to take into account when you're dealing with electronic devices. So just the basic things, good practice when you're handling electronics at all time. So the manual tells you, it gives you the steps. We don't want to take things for granted. We always want to read the user's manuals and make sure that we're operating any equipment that we purchase in the correct way, as instructions will differ from one manufacturer to another, one device to another, and so we want to make sure that we're following all the instructions. So this button, you press and hold for at least 3 seconds and then it turns on. And you do the same thing to turn it off. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now, one of the things that the manual says that you should do, whenever this battery indicator begins to flash, it means that the batteries are low. And what the manual recommends that you do is first turn off this device, turn off the camera, and then you unplug. And there's a reason why they're saying that. So you want to do your best practice and make sure that both devices are turned off before you disconnect and change the batteries. As you can see here, it's using an LCD screen that is not lit, so the digits are not lit. But especially if you're doing celestial photographs, then you might want to see what's on the screen. So how do you achieve that? Then this button right here, you touch that briefly, and then the back lights up. And then of course after a while it turns off. You probably about 3 seconds. Hit it again and then you can see what's happening on the screen. When you hit this button to turn the backlight on, as long as you're doing a function on the trigger, as long as you're pressing a button and moving the cursor around, the light will stay on. Once you stop pressing a button and the 3-second timer starts, no activity, light turns off. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to be a little patient with me because I'm trying to hold this at a correct angle so that you can always see what's happening on the screen. So you see that little bar, that black bar at the top? And as I do that, it moves across the screen. So right now it's under delay. So now that we're at delay, we press the set button. Then the hours start to flash, but we're not going to set the hours. We want to set seconds. We're on minutes right now, so let's press the arrow again and we go over to seconds. So what's the delay? So once you start the activity, how long after you start the activity should the device wait before it takes the first picture? That's what the delay is all about. So I want to set my delay to 2 seconds. So after starting the activity, after 2 seconds, my device will trigger the camera to take the first picture. So we press set and basically the delay is set. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to press that arrow again and we're going to move it to long. What does long mean? So basically what long means is that how long should the shutter be released for. Now I'm not going to set that. I'm going to leave it at 0. Why? Because that's going to be determined by the camera. I want my camera deciding what the exposure time or how long the shutter should be open. So I'm going to leave that at 0. Once it sends the shutter release signal to the camera will decide based on what mode I have it in how long the shutter should be open for. So I press the arrow and I go on to interval. And what interval means is how long should the timer wait before it takes the next picture. Now I already said that in this first set of pictures that I'm going to do, I want to take pictures of the sunrise every 10 seconds. So let's hit set and we see that it's flashing. We're not going to do hours, neither are we going to do minutes, we're going to do seconds. Now I did say 10 seconds, but when you take into consideration that the shutter release is counted as part of that time, I'm not going to get a full 10 seconds. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to I'm going to set that to 11 seconds. So part of that 11th second, or that first second, is going to be used to release the shutter, and then that will guarantee that I get my full 10 seconds. So I have my 11 seconds set, and I hit the set button. Now the next thing I want to do, I want to change the N. Now what does N mean? N is the number of photos that I want to be taken. So let's set that. I don't want to do one, so I hit the down arrow, and you see those two bars? Basically what that means is unlimited. So it will continue to take pictures until I stop it, and then I hit set. So the next thing I'm gonna do is, do I want a sound? So when the timer is going and whenever the shutter is released, do I want this device making a sound? No, I don't want that. Some people might want that, but I don't. So I'm gonna hit this. I'm gonna hit the set button, and then basically what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit the down arrow, and I'm gonna turn the speaker or the chime off. And so that is set, and then I can just move this back. Now if I don't want someone to accidentally change all the settings that I've made, I just press and hold this button, and then all of that is locked, which is why you have the L on the screen. How do I start this? I just hit this button, and once I hit this button, it's a start-stop button. Then the timer starts going and it starts taking the pictures continuously. If I want to stop it, I hit that button again. If I want to turn off the device, I press and hold this button for 3 seconds. So let me go to bed right now, and then in the morning we're gonna go take a picture or several pictures of the sunrise.